I want to start this video by saying I'm by no means an expert on Deltarune or Undertale. There are so many videos made by talented people who know way more about these games than I do. However, while I might not be as knowledgeable as other YouTubers, I do share their love for these games. So please take this video as just a fan saying his thoughts. With how detailed these games are, I'm probably going to miss something or get a detail wrong. And if that's the case, feel free to go to the comments after the video and tell me what you think makes replaying Deltarune so enjoyable. Thank you, and spoilers ahead for all Deltarune chapters. I think it's definitely worth considering the unique time we're at with Deltarune's current state. As players, we're in a very special place right now, one that many of us will definitely look back on fondly. While it might seem like these chapters are taking a long time to come out, once the full game does release, this portion of time will seem small by comparison to the rest of the game's lifespan, especially as time goes on. The reason I mention this is because part of this video is very specific to the current state of Deltarune, and while I will be mostly touching on points about the game that will stay true come the rest of its release, one of them is exclusive to the time we're in right now, and you'll understand what I mean. As for things that I'm confident will still be praised come release day, let's start off with Deltarune's. Okay, so basic point right off the bat here, but it needs to be said. Despite only having 2 chapters released, Deltarune has already proven to have an incredible cast of characters. Every single one of them has been so clearly designed with heart and humor that they are nothing short of lovable. From the leading cast, to the antagonists, to the minor NPCs, the characters are simply great. Their designs are super memorable, with my favorite part being the way color is incorporated. The characters mesh really well together, and especially so in the Dark World, due to the Lightners changing form to fit the darker, more adventurous color palette. But I think what makes them even more enjoyable is their dynamics. With only 28% of the game released, the dynamics between these characters have already proven to be unforgettable. From Birdly and Noelle, to Noelle and Susie, to Susie and Lancer, these dynamics are just heartwarming, and especially compelling when it comes to more tragic relationships like Lancer and his dad. Personally, I think one of the reasons Deltarune is so enjoyable to replay is getting to spend time with these characters again. Seeing Susie and Lancer become friends again, or talking to Birdly after seeing his moment, is very interesting when you have the context of a previous playthrough. That's not even mentioning the most obvious part of these characters, which is that they'll react differently based on what you do in your playthrough, responding with different dialogue or animations. Knowing that I can play for a long time without seeing all these possible interactions, and knowing that I'm never going to get tired of these characters, makes Deltarune very fun to replay. This ties into the most obvious part of the video, which is the different routes you can take within the game. I'm not going to spend too much time on this point because I consider it to be kind of self-explanatory. Yes, the game with different ways to play is replayable, but I do want to give this point its credit so nobody mentions me missing something so obvious. Currently, you can either play Deltarune with a pacifist route, weird route, or neutral route, each of which have like way too many variations to count. Some of the runs you might not spare a single character, and the whole run's different, which can make you want to play the game again to look for more of those types of moments. We don't know if there's going to be any other routes that open in the future chapters, but it's definitely possible there could be more. Basically, you can have 3 saves with 3 different playstyles, and that's pretty awesome. Okay, now let's move on to a little bit more of a nuanced take with... Now, I'm not going to try to tell you some super complex reason about why the notes and melodies used in Deltarune's soundtrack makes it so amazing. I'll leave that to the music experts. In any case, soundtracks are usually the things people gush about the most in video games already, even if they're not good. Instead, I'll just say this. This makes me want to do this. And this makes me feel like this. And this? Well, this makes me want to do this. But how does that contribute to Deltarune's replayability? Well, while listening to Deltarune's soundtracks on Spotify is pretty sweet and all, I think everyone agrees there's nothing like encountering the tracks in-game. Sure, you can catch me listening to a Cyber's World while playing some Minecraft, but that does not mean I'm going to do the same thing with the circus. Does that mean it's a bad track? No, but I do like listening to it more playing the game than when I'm alone. When you replay Deltarune, you get the unique experience of listening to all the tracks in context, which is wonderful. In fact, it's pretty much the way you were intended to listen to them, with Toby making themes for different characters and fight sequences. And when you go into the game replaying it with the intention to re-listen to its tracks, you can always get excited about your favorites and be surprised about the ones you forgot about, because there's so many tracks in this game. Personally, I find it really rewarding to listen to the music for the secret bosses, but we're not going to talk about those guys yet. Actually, we are. Okay, so this one might mostly only apply to me, but personally, I find it very compelling. You see, when I play a new chapter of Deltarune, I'm not exactly the best at picking up hints. And even when I do get hints about a supposed secret boss, I don't exactly bother to check the suspicious-looking elevator button. Sometimes, I don't even know it exists until I finish the playthrough, and wonder what all the hype is about with these new characters I've never seen. So yeah, I'm just joking here. I'm sure not the only one who's missed these guys before. I hope. But yeah, going back with a guide to figure out how to find Jebel and Spamton is very fun for me, as with discovering their attacks, which I made sure not to get spoiled for myself. And you guys want to know even bigger confession? I haven't even fought Spamton Neo yet. But you're making a video! I know! I already told you at the start I wasn't a Deltarune expert. I just like the game, and I'll get around to doing an all-secret Chapter 2 run when I'm good and ready. In any case, I think it's way more interesting to make a video about something I'm currently experiencing than after the fact. So yeah, if you're observant enough to spot them the first time or not, going back to refight and listen to the secret boss tracks is very compelling. In fact, I'm such a big fan of Deltarune's combat system, I get excited to fight the Rudens. Oh yeah, I also wanted to sort of staple a mini point to this one, which is that I think there might be other secrets in this game. Did you guys know this? This is the final point, and it's also the one I have the most to say about. It's the one that I mean by when I say part of this video is exclusive to us right now. Split chapters. I don't think people talk enough about how awesome it is that we got to experience chapters 1 and 2 one at a time. Having time to play, replay, theorize, and make content about these chapters is something that won't be the same once the full game is out. Now why is that? Well, if you ever watched something like The Last of Us or The Mandalorian, you know how exciting a timed release can be. Getting plenty of time to discuss something without having to worry about binging to avoid spoilers is the best. And it makes every episode you watch infinitely more exciting. So currently that's a big part of the reason why Deltarune is so enjoyable to replay. Another reason why split chapters make Deltarune so replayable is that we don't know what's going to happen in the next chapters. Because we have so many questions about stuff, details like the Knight and Rouse's intentions are heavily theorized upon, and have also inspired many to make their own YouTube videos embracing the current state of the game's release. I also think replaying the game with different perspectives is more fun than the routes themselves. The Chris doesn't like Rouse school of thought leads to one not hugging Rouse and being generally cold to him, while the Rouse is just a fluffy boy theory leads you to not being a heartless monster. There's also the Castle Town, which I think is such a cool and interesting feature to have. It looks like this place is going to be continually updated with more recruits, and seeing how interactive it is truly makes me feel like I'll be playing a living, breathing game. If Toby decides to continue the level of detail we've come to know, you might be replaying the game just to see what happens when you take out one character who might have had significance in a future chapter, or see what happens if you decide to only start recruiting most characters around chapter 5 or something. Chapter 3 being in the distance also just makes for a great reason to bulk up on your chapter 1 and chapter 2 experience, so you can be ready to make the best choices on your first playthrough as you can. And I'm sure once we're a week or two from release, it'll be yet another reason to visit the Scarlet Forest and Cyberworld again. Overall, I think full release or not, chapter splits will always be another reason to replay Deltarune, since everyone will probably have a favorite chapter they'll want to play through it again to visit. I will say though, and some of you might think I'm evil for this, but if it was up to me, we'd continue playing the chapters one at a time, even if that meant buying them one at a time, like Smash DLC or something. I feel like it would just be really nice to have that time to soak in every chapter. So yeah, that's my video on why I think Deltarune is so enjoyable to replay. If you liked it, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm new to YouTube and plan to talk about a variety of games. But with this one being one of my favorites of all time, I'll likely make another video on it in the future, especially come chapter 3. Again, feel free to comment with thoughts or corrections once the video is over. I'd love to chat about what we have to say. Deltarune is something that I don't think enough people talk about, so it's always a pleasure to meet other fans of it. If you made it this far, have a nice day, and keep on replaying Deltarune.